Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Arlington Redevelopment Board meeting on October 20th, 2025. My name is Rachel Zenberry. I'm the chair of the board, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would the other members of the board please introduce themselves?
Steve Revelak.
Eugene Benson.
Shana Corman Houston.
Ken Lau.
And we also have joining us this evening the Director of the Department of Planning and Community Development, Claire Ricker.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump right in. Our first agenda item this evening is a review of the meeting minutes from October 6, 2025. We'll see if there are any additions or corrections from the board, starting with Steve.
No changes, Madam Chair.
Jean?
No changes.
Shana?
None.
Ken?
No changes.
And I have no changes either. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted?
So motion.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Shana?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Those meeting minutes have been approved. We'll now move to our second agenda item, which is the public hearing for docket number 3862, 126 Broadway, which is continued from August 11th, 2025. So what I'd like to do, I think we have the applicants with us here this evening. Great. So the way that we will run our hearing this evening is we will turn it over to the to the Director of Planning and Community Development for any information that she'd like to share with the board. We'll then turn it over to the applicant to highlight any changes that you specifically would like to highlight from the revised package. The board will then ask any questions or clarification points before we open up the hearing for public comment, and then we'll turn it back to the board to decide whether or not we will be able to make a finding this evening. Okay, perfect. And so whoever is speaking for the group, feel free to pull additional chairs up, but we will use this table over here with the microphone so that everyone joining us this evening can hear when you're speaking. And when we open it up for public comment, we will also... Perfect. Thank you so much, Steve.
Sorry about that.
We will also use this chair and this microphone over here to invite anyone who is speaking for public comment during that time as well. All right. So I'd like to turn it over to Director Ricker for any introduction remarks for 126 Broadway.
Great, thank you. So for 126 Broadway, the applicant proposes to demolish an existing two-family dwelling with a detached garage and construct a 5-story mixed-use building with an approximately 1,400 square foot commercial unit and residential parking on the ground floor and 14 residential units above on the property located at 126 Broadway in the residential two-family district and the Mass Ave Broadway multifamily housing overlay district. Additional materials that have been submitted since the previous hearing include updated architectural plans and drawings, updated color elevations, an updated shadow study, a TDM plan, a landscape plan narrative, and that is the update.
Great, thank you very much. So I'd like to invite the applicant or any of the representatives to please address the board. You'd have up to 8 minutes for any opening remarks. I'm not sure. Steve, can you see if the... Oh, Sarah's got it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as we, Planning Director reviewed the project, this is a proposed 5-story 14-unit mixed-use building, 14 residential units, 1 commercial space with 5 parking spaces. This is a corner lot between Broadway and Everett Street. As you know, we have a landscape plan with our landscape architect developed, which we can go to. This is first the architectural site plan. The changes here would include along Broadway, we brought out the facade of the commercial space along the property line instead of setting it back, increasing the commercial space to 43% of the ground floor plan. We showed the unisex toilet in the commercial space as requested. Also on the parking, we brought the even though we're not required to provide a handicap space or van parking, we did provide a accessible parking space that could become an accessible parking space in the open garage. We also brought in all the trash containers and recycling containers inside the open garage. We also provided a spec on the bike assist two-tier bike racks. And then also working with Mr. Lau, brought in some good comments on the parking. We shifted and enlarged the opening of the open parking so that cars could back into the open parking and every car could go out headlights first. That will increase, I think, the safety of the cars exiting, especially along the street where many families live. We'll also provide a mirror for the people exiting the driveway area. So pedestrian safety was key there. And the landscape plan, I'll go over in a moment. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So our landscape plan, Susan Sangiolo, Sangiolo Associates, she had several conversations with the tree warden. The highlights of the landscape plan, Everett, if you can see the building footprint in yellow, Everett Street is on the bottom, Broadway on the right side. There are 3 existing trees. The tree along Broadway has a very tall canopy which has been cut back many times, stunting the tree, but Susan is proposing a smaller tree up to 30 feet so it doesn't interrupt the utility lines. She is in conversation with a tree warden on the specific type of tree. Along Everett Street, Susan shows that the existing utility pole has a 20-foot guy wire supporting the utility pole along Everett Street. So we're only able to fit in 1 new tree between the 2 existing trees. And that would be perhaps a Norway maple, which is 30 to 40 feet canopy along Everett. She also provided a plant list with all different types of shrubbery that the board, if has any specific questions. We are removing 1 tree in the northeast corner, which is an older, not an older, but a Norway maple. And so that's a quick overview of the landscape plan. Next slide, please. These are 3D views of the project showing. We had some good comments on the last presentation, especially from Mr. Lau, in terms of the massing. We did break up the massing of the building into several areas or masses, if you will, connecting balconies. We also brought the brick storefront out to the street, made it very prominent, using a brick cornice and soldier courses to create a very strong sign banding around the base of the building. And there were color elevations we can go to shortly. There's a 3D contextual view showing the prominent storefront now, which is right along the property line. And we're opening up the windows along Broadway. We also deleted the windows on the north side per the board's request. And we step back, of course, at the 4th and 5th floor. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Ground floor plan, which we reviewed, showing the commercial space and the 5 parking spaces. Next slide, please. And then we'll just go up to all the floor plans. You can see we have the balconies on each elevation, which begins to create a void, breaking down the mass on each elevation. We are proposing 8 one-bedrooms and 6 two-bedrooms. Of those 14 units, 3 will be affordable. That's approximately 22.5% of the units will be affordable. All units will be serviced by an elevator, which all units will be handicap adaptable. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And we're up to the top where we have our solar panels. Our solar consultant has designed a 12.88 kilowatt solar array, and this array will generate almost 15,000 kilowatts of electricity per year, which will dump into the grid. There will be no battery storage. Next slide, please. And then on the elevation, per the board's request, we did increase the floor-to-floor between the ground and the second floor plate 12 feet to give us a finish height in the commercial space approximately 10 foot 10 inches. We also reduced the floor-to-floor on all the floors above that to 9 feet, reducing the overall height of the building by 2 feet, from 50 down to 48 feet. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. It's showing the elevator core. Next slide. So I don't know if the color elevations are on here, but this is the elevation from Broadway. You can see a very prominent storefront in brick with a brick. So you can see the elevation on Broadway with a very prominent storefront in brick. The floors above are set back not only at the 4th and 5th floors, 7.5 feet, but we've also provided a vertical void, if you will, in each elevation, which we infill with our balconies. We did submit also a photometric study, which follows the Dark Sky Initiative. All exterior lighting is downlit and shielded using warm LED lights. That's the elevation. There's the elevation along Everett Street. You can see our strong brick cornice line comes across the first floor. We have our residential entry shown where the massing of the building is split and infilled with balconies. Each floor, well, the second and third floor layouts are different than the fourth and fifth floor layouts. So we're going to be to create more of a uniform fenestration. We're proposing fiber cement panels, which will be trimmed out and painted certain colors to liven up the elevation, but also to regularize it on each elevation. Next slide, please. This is our rear elevation showing our larger entrance to the covered parking to reverse into by all cars, so we can go out headlights first. Again, a similar elevation as on Broadway, where we have our massing split in the middle infilled with our balconies. Next slide, please. Final elevation, we removed all the windows on the commercial space requested by the board. And then again, we can see how the building steps back. We are creating that split in the massing and infilling it with balconies on this elevation as well. These will be a fiberglass frame window with a 5/4 inch trim surround requested by the board. And the siding will all be a fiber cement product, a lap siding. We really don't use wood anymore on the outside of buildings. All these fiber cement products have a 50-year warranty. Next slide, please. And the existing and proposed. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, I would like to turn it over to members of the board for any questions or initial comments to the applicant. I appreciate the applicant team for making many of the changes that the board had requested at the initial hearing. So thank you. We'll start with Steve.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll start with the Transportation Demand Management Plan. From Ms. Ricker's opening, from Director Ricker's opening remarks, it sounds like there was a new one submitted, but the one attached to the agenda looks like the old one, or at least it has the same typos that I noticed. But regardless, one of my questions was going to be what 3 TDM measures you were planning to employ, and based on the staff memo, you're unbundling parking, so charging separately for parking. You'll be doing a transit pass subsidy, and you will be installing bike charging stations in the bike room. So what do you, rough ballpark, what were you planning on charging for parking? And tell me about the subsidy that you've been considering.
Mike Cabral for the applicant. We did have Howard Steen update that to include those 3 items right at the beginning of the amended TDM plan, just to make that clear. So that would satisfy the 3 requirements. Steve, do you want to talk about the amount of the subsidy, or your thoughts on that? So what we were talking with Howard Steen about is, if you are getting a parking space, meaning unbundled, and you're paying for it, then those who do not would qualify for the subsidy.
Okay.
And that would be upon signing the first year's lease at that point. We hadn't come up with an exact number yet, but those will certainly be provided to those tenants who do not have a parking space on site.
All right. The 4 parking spaces, Director Ricker, if you could pull up the ground floor plan, or, yep, that one's fine. So the 4 spaces to the rear that sort of faced west, it looks like the 2 that are with, 2 kind of go through a punched hole in the wall. Is there any, does the pavement for those areas go right up to the property line?
They do, yes.
Right, this is.
But it's not, it's not pavement, it'll be a pervious interlocking block.
Pervious interlocking block. And what will keep the headlights from shining into the adjacent properties?
We're proposing a 6-foot-high stockade fence with a lattice topper.
Okay, thank you. Sheet 1 of the civil plan still shows the front facade overhanging the property line, but the architectural plans do not. So could I assume that detail in the civil plans is just something that wasn't updated?
Yeah, the architectural controls this proposed site plan, so we will submit a revised proposal.
Okay, thank you. Now, in the previous iteration, there was a dumpster where the 2 rearmost spaces were, and now it looks like the dumpster is inside and you have separate recycling bins.
Correct.
So because this is, right, essential, there are other residential properties close by. Do you foresee any problems with ensuring that your hauler picks up trash after 7 in the morning? This is something that occasionally I personally hear complaints about. Is somebody put in there's an apartment building next to me and they're picking up trash at 5 in the morning and the truck wakes me up. I want to make sure that doesn't happen here.
Certainly. First, a question: is there a ceiling or a limit to the number of units that the town would pick up the trash?
That would be a DPW question, I believe.
So if the DPW is picking up the trash, I would assume
if DPW picks it up, then it will be picked up within, the normal hours that, the town allows for such things. It's just occasionally private haulers have they try to get in early before the traffic and,
Well, we can check with the DPW if there is a number of units that separates town trash from private hauler. Private hauler will certainly get back to you and let you know what we're going to do if we have to do a private hauler.
Thank you. And just last, earlier in the presentation, you said so the front sheet of your drawing plans, or the front sheet A00, lists the square footage of the ground area at 1,817. And during the opening presentation, you mentioned that the commercial space was about 1,400 square feet. I'm wondering how that you get 43% out of that. Or more specifically, when in your 43% calculation, what is the numerator and what is the denominator?
Well, the numerator would be 1,467 square feet. The denominator would be 3,401 square feet.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking, so the bonus provisions for mixed use, there are two-dimensional bonuses in there. One is getting the upper story. The other is being able to come out to the front lot line. So those come together as a package, and that requires 60% of the ground floor to be commercial space, and 80% fenestration. Now, recalling my tenure on the MBTA Communities Working Group, that when we were considering bonuses, we wanted to, because the dimensional bonuses are reasonably generous, we wanted to have like a worthwhile ask or a worthwhile requirement. So we spent a lot of time going back and forth with, what percentage of space of the ground floor and what, sort of non-commercial ground floor spaces do we need to accommodate. Things like a mailroom, an elevator, a bicycle room, a utility room, or a mechanicals room. We didn't, my recollection, and I'll invite comments from Ms. Corman in Houston and Mr. Lau because they were also involved in this process. My recollection is that the percentage was actually the gross area of the ground floor. So parking was never one of those things that we talked about needing to accommodate in terms of non-commercial ground floor uses. But basically, I do understand where your number comes from, and I will. That is all I have, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Jean?
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll revisit that when we have our discussion. I want to start with, I wonder if you misspoke when you said that one of the potential trees to get planted is a Norway maple. You had mentioned one getting taken down, but when I looked at the tree list, I fortunately did not see a Norway maple on the tree list. So I wonder if you misspoke when you said one of the trees might be a Norway maple.
I did misspeak because the trees haven't been decided yet, the tree species. This landscape architect is working with the tree warden, Tim Leserve. So right now, tree A on Broadway would be a small tree less than 35 feet high on Broadway. Tree B would be a tree with a higher canopy, 30 to 40 feet. But Susan is still talking with Tim about the exact species. So I did misspeak.
Yeah, I don't think the town allows Norway maples to be planted anymore in town, so.
I have some in my yard, and I'm taking them down.
Yeah, I also didn't quite understand what you said when you indicated you would only be able to plant one new tree on Everett Street. Can you just explain that again?
Yes, there's an existing utility pole, which is shown on the plan, on the landscape, and the architectural site plan. So it's, if you can you blow that? Well,
I can try.
you can see the, there we go. You can see the, along Everett, the tree to the left, furthest tree to the left. To the right of that tree is the utility pole. There's a guy wire that is supporting that utility pole that runs eastward toward Broadway, 20 feet out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only room for one tree after the end of that guy wire.
Okay, thank you. At the last meeting, we asked, and it's in the minutes, for the solar system assessment that's required by our rules and regulations, and I didn't see it in any of your materials. So I'm assuming that you didn't provide it.
Well, I'm not the solar consultant, So I'm going to have to defer to my client on that. Did our solar consultant provide the material? Yeah.
That's not the only thing that's in the assessment. So I think that's missing, and it continue, and tell me if I'm wrong, it looks to me like the solar system that's proposed is much less than 50% of the roof area, and our rule is, unless you have a good excuse, which we would have to approve, it has to be at least 50% of the roof area. So I think on the solar, we need an assessment that's required by our rules and regulations. And if you want to have less than 50%, we're going to need a good reason why you can't have at least 50% solar on the roof.
Okay.
The TDM plan, the copy that we got, and maybe it's been updated, so I apologize. The copy that we got says the project will charge for parking on site, provide transit pass subsidies, and provide covered bicycle parking and storage. Is the third one replaced with the charger for the bicycles
No, that's in addition.
in addition?
Yes. And then as you go through the plan, I believe it's on page 4, it does talk about some additional strategies as well. What the consultant did was take numbers 1 through 8. I believe number 9 on that list is board discretionary. So they just took numbers 1 through 8, pulled out the 3 that were specific to the regulation, but they do provide for additional measures in their report as well.
All right, but it wasn't clear, and I think it's not clear which one of those additional measures will actually be implemented.
Well, all 3 of these will be implemented.
No, I'm
which-
talking about the additional measures, the one that
Oh,
includes.
so the additional measures,
Chargers.
there is EV parking as well, I believe for 2 vehicles on site. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes.
2.
So for me, it would be helpful to have something that actually says what's going to be implemented, because you're required to provide covered bicycle storage and parking, bicycle covered storage anyhow, and you haven't done much more, so can't speak for my colleagues, but that wouldn't be one of the TDMs for me, since you're required to do it under the bicycle. And I think you're only offering 1 additional space inside and 2 additional spaces outside, which to me are not enough. So I think the charger would be a good third one.
And so maybe that's not clear, but under the additional strategies, starting on page 3, there's the general strategies, and then going to the next page, the transit strategies, parking strategies, and bicycle strategies. And as the subpoints in there, there are some additional measures that will be taken at site.
It's, at least, I'll hear what my colleagues say. I would like to know exactly what's being proposed for the TDM.
Okay,
As
and
opposed to, we have all of these strategies.
Sure, but, and they do say that these will be implemented, not maybe as well. So the consultant has gone through some of those additional measures.
For the additional charging on site, so we had a project that we approved a few years ago, and they charge an additional $50 a month and everybody paid. So that's not enough. There's a apartment complex in town that charges $175 a month additionally for parking on site, and $200 a month for parking in their garage. That, to me, is a much more market-driven, reasonable number than something less. And I would like, you don't have to say now, but I at least would like to know what the number's going to be to figure out whether I think it's appropriate or not for the additional monthly parking. Because if we do go from 14 spaces to 5, you need some way other than $50 a month to do that. On the diagram, the architectural plans, it shows the bicycle scooter parking charging station at one corner of the bike storage area. I just wanted to make sure that that was right.
That is correct.
Okay.
We have the two-tier racks, then we have the five-foot loading zone, and then beyond that loading zone, we have a 3-foot passageway where you can have an area for your bike. And just a clarification on the bike parking, 21 bikes are required for the residential units. We're providing 22. We're also
Right.
providing 2 visitor parking spaces, and then 2 spaces for the commercial.
Right, I understand. I like what you did with the accessible parking space in case you need it. If you had needed a second, which could happen along the way, then obviously you'd need to reconfigure the other 4. So I'm just going to say that if you end up needing a second one, you'd have to come back and ask us for some more relief to do that. But otherwise, I think this meets what we talked about
Okay.
the last time. The memo from the Department of Planning and Community Development indicates the site plan shows a proposed transformer along Everett Street near the garage entrance, subject to confirmation of the utility company, but no screening for the transformer. Can you talk a little bit about what the screening would be if the transformer is there?
Well, yes, sir. The screening would be provided by the plants the landscape architect is proposing.
Okay.
Would you rather, I'm just a question to the world, would you rather have screening that's landscape screening, or would you rather have a fence? I think the landscape would go a lot better with the street than providing a 4-foot high fence around that transformer. But that's just my personal taste. The landscape architect is showing medium-sized shrubbery on both sides of the transformer.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that shrubbery is going to be too high and block what the drivers can see as they go out. I have to think about that and take a look at what our rules require
Okay.
for that. And the last one is snow removal. Where's the snow going to go from the curb cut? Can't go in the street.
No, the management company would have to have a snow removal
Okay.
contractor come to remove any snow in the driveway.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jean. Shayna?
Thank you, and thank you for your work on this. It's come a long way. I just had a few things in addition to what my colleagues have already asked. It appeared to me on your square footage chart on the front of the plans that the footprint has shrunk by 100 feet, approximately 100 feet, even though the commercial space has grown. Can you show, or can you point out where it is that that square footage has come off? It could be misreading.
So, I don't know if I'll be able to identify where that 100-foot is coming out of, but the secondary stair in the garage is now an open stair, which is not counted there's 2 square footage here. There's gross square feet, there's FAR square feet. So the stairwell was taken out of the FAR square footage. The entrance to to the commercial unit got larger. So unless I have to do a calculation, I can't really point to one thing except maybe that the second stair was taken out of a fire-rated shaft, and then now it's an open stair. So that was deducted from the FAR square foot. That's probably my short answer.
So it's not effectively the building shrinking at any dimension. It's stairwells. It's maybe openings. It is what goes in and out of calculation. It's not material changes to the footprint.
It's not, no. The square footage shrunk by a large factor after we removed all the bays overhanging, encroaching into the setbacks. So that was a big change in reducing the square footage of the building. So in this iteration, no, there's no change to the width of the building, to the rear setback. The only change would be the commercial unit now is at the property line. But the upper floors have not changed.
Okay, great. Between Steve and Jean, I think they covered most of my questions. Could you clarify, I believe you spoke to this earlier, could you clarify the affordable units, the affordable units are supposed to be at 22.5% to achieve the affordability bonus, and how are you meeting that percentage?
Yes, so we've submitted a memo to the board on how that's calculated, and I don't have my calculator here, but whatever that number is, it's also rounded down to the nearest, which that third additional affordable unit would satisfy that provision.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Well, I'd like to start off with saying thank you for making some of the changes we've addressed at the last meeting. You've made a good attempt to minimize the balconies and the overhangs and over the balconies to minimize the size of the building. You've deleted some of the cornices, added some more commercial windows on the lower floor, so the space looks more like a commercial space. Appreciate that very much. Thank you for that. I have several questions I still want to follow up on. One is more of a request than a question right now, is when we turn the corner onto on the first floor where the can we go to the first floor plan? On Everett Street, you still have like 5 sort of residential windows in that in a commercial space. Would the owner developer would be okay to maybe change those over to windows you similarly have on the commercial side street, Broadway?
Ms. Lauer, are you saying make them triple,
You have 5 windows there on the...
3 ganged windows?
Yes, right now you have, if you look at your front elevation, that looks more of like a storefront, looks like more of a commercial space. I can see that as a commercial space, okay, more so than what you had before. If I turn the corner onto Everett Street, now it looks more like a residential window. So I'm making a request to see if you can maybe put, where there's a 3 gang and a 2 gang, could you put just 2 of those 3 gang windows there, so it looks more like a storefront. So it looks more like, this looks like you can tell where the commercial space is on the first floor. I'm trying to make this more active, and I'm trying to make the commercial space as active and alive as possible. And thank you for taking the windows out along the alleyway there, because now they have some stocking space, but I think where we have the windows on along Everett Street, you should have some windows there. That's one request. The other request is, if we look at the entrances from Broadway, you have a simple door there, no side lights. It looks like a residential door to me. If I look at the Everett Street side, you have side lights on the doors. It makes it more wide open. Would you be able to do that on the Broadway side and put side lights on each side of those doors so it looks more open, so it looks more like a commercial space instead of just a glass door that's in there? Because that looks to me like a side door afterthought. I'm just trying to enhance the quality of the commercial space there, okay? So that's one request, okay? And I'd like to hear what your feedback in that, for that is.
No, I think those are good suggestions on opening up more activity from the commercial space. So those would be very easy changes to make.
Thank you. And then you brought a materials board here today. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. What you show on the materials board is a little different to what you have on your renderings and your elevations. How do you plan to turn the corner on your siding? You have 5-foot exposed lap siding, right? Are you going to miter the corners, or are you having clapboard there? Because when I look at your elevations and your renderings, you just show it being mitered. That seems to me like a very expensive detail to put in and very hard to obtain. Or are you putting it in like the way you showed on your mock-up there with that vertical board?
That one there is just next to a window. That's not a corner. Like, that's the 5-4 you asked for the next to the window.
Okay.
So that's not a corner.
So your plan for the corners of all these buildings are to be mitered.
It'd be very tight, 45 or 90.
It will be out of the cement board, or are you putting some sort of metal trim there, or how's that terminated or transitions?
It'll be siding to siding.
So you are mitering the cement board and overlapping shingles like you typically
Old-fashioned, yeah.
old-fashioned way of doing things. Okay. It just wasn't clear to me, and I was asking that question there.
No problem.
Okay. My other question is, when you look at the elevations, any of the elevations up above, you have these blank outs where you have a pair of double hung windows, and then you have a panel sort of mocking the same detail there, right? And you call off that panel as being a cement panel.
Yeah, I have those as well.
Yes. How do you propose to transition between the lap siding and that panel? Is there some sort of reglet there, or some?
Trim it out just like the window. Just go right by, back up across, and put the cement panel right in the middle. So it shows on the elevations to trim 4 sides of all the...
Can you show me that on the elevations? I don't see that.
It's not on the elevation. We can provide a detail on how we're going to trim out that panel, though.
Okay, so when I look at this, where there's an active window and there's a panel for a window, the trim goes all the way around the panel and the windows, all the way around.
Yeah.
No, I don't see that right there. All I see right here is one line. Okay? Here shows me that 5-corner panel you showed there, okay?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, and thank you for that, because now it dives into something that's...
Proud of it as well.
It gives you a shadow line. But when you have this detail here, I don't know how that works. But if you're going to continue that around... then
That's the idea, yeah.
Okay.
We can provide a detail, Mr. Lau, for that trim condition.
Okay. When I look at when you go back to the light study, it's way back, it's like a black and white light study. Can you pull that up on the... What page is that?
That is, oops.
I think I lost it somehow. There's one other elevation. Is it further up?
This one
Nope. Oh, side and front elevation.
with the light?
Yeah. Shows the balconies and everything else. Is it next
The
page
shadow
up?
study?
Nope, it's like next page up maybe? Nope, next page down.
That's what I got.
Am I missing something here or?
No, there is an elevation in the photometric study.
Well, my question is, that recess that you have in for the ground floor retail space, how is that lit? And is that something that's lit 24/7, or is that something that's going to be lit when the business is open? I'm just concerned when you're walking down Broadway, of having these dark shadows in certain areas at night, especially in the wintertime, So I just want to say, is that?
Is this what you're looking
Yep,
for?
that's
Ken?
it right there. Go through, yep, front elevation. Go up a little more. Nope, you had it right there on the lower left-hand corner. Is that right there? Okay.
Right to touch anything.
So the light is coming through the windows, okay? Right now, right? On that light study right here. But when you enter into the center of the building, where the doors are, I don't see any lights there. There's some spillage from the side, but I'm just wondering, that entryway there, is that going to be like a dark little cove there?
Both the commercial and the residential entry will have a ceiling downlight above, which will be on a timer.
Okay. So, like 11 o'clock or something, some reasonable thing, it'll be turned off so you're not lighting up the street. But if you're walking down the street in the evening, getting off the bus or something.
That's correct, Mr. Lau.
Okay.
All the lighting at the commercial and residential entries will be on a timer, and then the floodlights at the driveway will be motion sensors. As we discussed, the downlighting in the open garage will be motion sensor too.
Okay, and I don't quite remember what we said earlier before. The dry exhaust are going through the roof, or you're not using condensating dryers?
No, we're not using condensing.
Sorry, I started
I know
it.
what you mean.
Condensing dryers. No, we'll be going through the roof.
Okay.
The MEP drawings will show all the exhaust through the roof.
And same with the kitchen
Bath
exhaust?
fans.
The kitchen exhaust too?
Correct.
Okay, so there'd be no louvers or vents sticking out the elevation?
Correct.
Thank you. I think I might have asked that earlier, and you might have answered it, but I just don't recall. I think I'm good for now. I would like to discuss later on with Jean the percentage of ground floor commercial space.
Okay, great, thank you. I just have a couple of items. Claire, if you could go back to the rendering, please.
Sure. Hold on, it's thinking.
It's been a tough day on the East Coast for computers, so I understand. Okay, I appreciate the changes that you've made to the balconies. Thank you. I think this provides some of the relief that we were looking for. Claire, if you wouldn't mind perhaps starting with the front facade. So one of our requirements in the signage bylaw is that the sign for a commercial space be above the entrance door. And with the detail that we currently have, that's not something that's possible. So I would like, I think you have one shown on either side, even though it's only one commercial space. So I'd really like, again, for this to be a marketable commercial space, for us to take another look at the way that we have provided a provision for signage above the door. We had also asked for this to be articulated in such a way so that we brought down some of the massing. I agree that the approach to the balconies has improved this, but this still feels like a very dark, imposing, generic mixed-use building that does not have context with the neighborhood. And I would like to see more of an effort made, whether it's through the way that we're articulating the corners, the way that the facade is pushing and pulling in and out, looking at the cornices that are being provided. There are quite a number of ways that we can reference the architecture of the neighborhood and also provide a building that has an identity that this building currently does not have. And for me, that's something that I'd need to see in order to be able to approve this. And some of those are items that we talked about at our previous meeting: the articulation at the corners, the detailing at the corners, the change in volume of the facades. I'm also trying, if Claire, you can go to the side elevation on Everett Street. Is that a grate or is that glass block at the?
That's glass block, Madam Chair.
Okay, that is not something that I am going to approve, the glass block. So we need to look at another approach to the windows at the garage. I think you answered the question about garage lighting, and several of the other items. My other colleagues have brought up a few other things, but I still think we need some work on the facade. Any other topics before we open this up for public comment? Jean?
I just want to ask a question about the lighting. The tubes in the photometric study, there it shows what I think are the two staircases being lit up at night, and
I believe those are the balconies.
they're the balconies.
I believe that's, yes.
If you could show that for a second, please.
I'm looking through
Photometric study.
the photometric?
Yeah, right here.
It wasn't, yeah.
So they're the balconies?
Yes, sir. Those are the balconies on the, right there.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the clarification. And the garage, will that be lit at night, or will it be on some sort of motion detector?
They'll all be ceiling recessed LED lights on a motion sensor.
Okay, thank you. That was my other question.
Great, thank you,
Thank
Jean.
you.
All right, so with that, I thank you very much for answering our questions to date. If I could ask you to take your seats back in the audience, I will open this for public comment. We will collect any questions we have. We will not direct any questions directly to the applicant during public comment. So anyone who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. I see we have a couple. I will call on you for any comments you might have. You'll have up to 2 minutes to address the board. I will ask that you please introduce yourself by your first, last names, and address. And we'll start with this gentleman right here. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Joe Pinciar. I live at 74 Oxford Street. And thank you. I noticed you changed keeping some of the trees from the last time we were here. I appreciate that. However, I will say overall, if I'm understanding this correctly, getting that bonus fifth floor means they do need to get to 22.5% of affordable housing. Is that correct? Before I make any further comment on that?
That's what the board will be discussing, how the calculation works.
Is that what the MBTA overlay district access?
Correct. That is
Okay.
part of the MBTA overlay
Yeah.
district bonus provision.
Right. So I hope you can understand, it is extremely tiresome and frustrating to be here even talking about this when they haven't even met that as a requirement. You know, this is a rule that many people in town made and worked very hard to work on. So for us to even be having a conversation about this, because that's a decision that they made. They want to go 5 floors, make the rules, follow the rules. So there's that. And parking is on top of that. You know, this is, it's really not a parking plan, as you called out. There's no data here for how you're going to charge people on site. It does create a very weird calculus in terms of, you know, maybe some haves and have-nots. You have affordable housing, but obviously those people who, have affordable housing are probably not going to be the ones who can purchase parking. So, I'll say that just I appreciate the time, and I hope that we can get this down to a size and with parking that would suit the needs of the neighborhood. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Next speaker. Yes.
How you doing? Mike Hogan, East Arlington, off of Broadway. There's 14 units, but 5 parking spaces for the building.
That's the proposal.
Where are the overflow cars gonna go? I mean, in the morning, there's a ton of kids that walk to the school, and all these overflow cars are gonna end up parking on Broadway or Everett, which is gonna affect the sight lines of these kids going to school, because the crosswalk is right there. On top of that, the solar glare in the morning is ridiculous. And there's 3 schools. You have Thompson, and then all the kids going to the Ottoson meet up on the bus, and then the kids going to Gibbs. So we're talking about a few hundred kids that have to cross that intersection there. And with that, with the sight lines being affected, I'm also concerned about the snow removal, because when the house was there the way it is now, I'm sure most of the snow went onto the lawn. And now it's going to go on towards the sidewalk side, because the building goes right up to the sidewalk. And the snow removal companies, I don't see them removing snow. They remove it off the sidewalk. I'm just curious where the snow is going to go, because that's going to affect the sight lines, again, affecting the safety for the kids going to school.
Thank you.
All right?
Next speaker. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Larry Slotnick, 94 Grafton Street, which is one of the adjacent streets. I'm hoping the ARB folks appreciate that the mass of this building really isn't with the context of the neighborhood. And I can appreciate what Kin Lau was saying about making this commercial space, adding features that would make it a success, but, we all know it's a standalone building. There aren't going to be any adjacent businesses that will bring people to it. Sitting there hearing what you're suggesting, which are all good things if it were sort of part of a larger commercial array of buildings with commercial space, but I think a lot of us are taken aback by that. And I guess the final thing I'll say is that the final comments that Chair Zemberry made about the mass of the building and fitting in with the neighborhood, I hope are really taken to heart by the designers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Carl Wagner. I live on Edge Hill Road, and I'm a town meeting member. I think the past speakers have said very important things, and I hope others in the community will reach out to you to give their opinions. It strikes me, I'm not a person who supports adding the density that this law, the MBTA density overlay, forced on Arlington, but it strikes me that here I am standing up to defend that law tonight. The developer is trying to push for an extra floor in a neighborhood of 2.5-floor houses that would bring it to 5 floors. And the argument that the lawyers for the developer have is, well, yeah, we are supposed to provide 4 affordable units to get that bonus floor, but that's like 3.5, 3.15, so we'll just call it 3, right? No, this is your chance to stand up for the stakeholders of Arlington, the residents who live here, the businesses who already are here, and to demand that our law, which I don't think we should even have to have, our MBTA law, is upheld. So I would ask, if they get the 5th floor, that you would require a real 22.5, which is what our MBTA density law in Arlington says. The other thing is the parking, as a previous speaker mentioned. And so not to repeat those comments, I would point out that this building offends two groups that are very important not to offend. The abutting neighbors that might have a fifth floor, when by law they should only have 4 floors. And the poor people who are going to rent these units, who are going to have 3 parking spaces if 2 of them go to handicapped people. So I think, having 5 unit spaces total for 14 breaks the law that the MBTA density overlay put forward. And I remember coming and asking you, getting Arlingtonians to speak to you in these ARB meetings so that you would say yes to 1 parking space. And here we're talking about 3 regular spaces and 2 potentially, or 1 potentially extra for handicapped people. It offends the users of the building who will be there, and it offends the users around the building, the abutters. It only helps the developer. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Yes, in the red shirt. Yes. Mr. Holman, yeah.
Aram Holman, 12 Whittemore Street. I have concerns about the building. I also have concerns about what I see as abuse of both process and discretion on the part of the ARB. Those are my primary concerns. I'll start out with what I will urge the ARB to do. Deny the proponent a 5th floor bonus on the base of 1st floor commercial space. Deny the proponent a 5th floor bonus on the basis of alternatives to LEED certification. Deny the proponent a 5th floor bonus on the basis of having at least, with an emphasis on the at least, 22.5% of the units affordable. Send the proponent back to the drawing board to come up with a proposal that, without a 5th floor, meets all requirements. Deny the proponent a transportation demand management alternative to otherwise required parking, and send the proponent back to the drawing board to come up with a proposal that provides at least 0.5 spaces per unit. That is a minimum, 7 out of 14, but preferably less. Send the proponent back to the drawing board to come up with a proposal that better fits the size and scale of the surrounding neighborhood. You, as the ARB, have a great deal of discretion under state and local law. I am concerned by the fact that you are looking for ways to approve something which should not be permitted. Other people have mentioned the 22.5. I don't think I need to belabor that. The transportation demand management and the LEED certifications, I just want to quote one paragraph from the architect's letter. While this project is not currently pursuing formal LEED certification, we have prepared a preliminary LEED checklist to serve as a guiding framework for integrating sustainable practices throughout the design and construction process. This approach supports informed decision-making and a thoughtful application of green building principles.
Thank you.
End
Your
quotes.
time.
Thank you.
Yes, in the purple. Yes, you in the second row, please. Thank you.
Hi, Susan Silva, Arlington Heights. I just wanted to find out which of those proposed parking spaces are designated handicapped, because they seem extremely tight for someone that's going to have a wheelchair or a scooter. And the other thing is the commercial space. Are there any handicap parking spaces in that corner area for people that are going to use the commercial space? Also, if it's commercial space, depending on what type, where are they loading and unloading their product? Is it going to be right on the street? Then it'll be blocking the very crosswalk where these children need to use.
Thank you for the questions. We can certainly follow up on those, and there was at least one that we can certainly address back to the applicants. Much appreciated. Yes, Yes.
Hello, Joanne Cullinane. I'm at 69 Newland Road, and I'm a town meeting member for Precinct 21. I have concerns also about the scale of the project and how it fits or doesn't fit with the neighborhood, and many of the safety issues mentioned by Officer Hogan earlier. I used to live nearby, and my kids went to school in the area. But I want to return to the 22.5% because I think it is extremely important. The developers have not met the requirements set forth under the law for a bonus fifth floor. And I know they submitted a legal memo, which it's curious because in the memo it even cites section 5.9.4E2 of the law for the bonus incentive. That in this overlay district, one additional story may be added if the total percentage of affordable units exceeds the requirements in Section 823 requirements of this bylaw for a total of at least 22.5% of all units. It's clear from the wording that both of these requirements must be met, or else the words "at least" would not have been included there. So I feel it's not something that can be fudged. 22.5% of 14 is 3.15. They are not including at least 3.15 affordable units, and 21.4% is not at least 22.5%. As I understand it, they had a choice, and using the provisions of the MBTA Act overlay as a choice versus using our own inclusionary zoning. And I don't believe that developers should be allowed to mix and match different areas of our bylaws at will and cherry pick, so to speak, the parts they like of this or that, and then put them together as at will. So that's what I wanted to say. They've chosen to use MBTA Act overlay zoning, which has provisions and requirements for a bonus floor that they do not meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Yes. I'm sorry, I'll come back to you.
Rebecca Gruber, 215 Pleasant Street, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 10. So when we voted MBTA Communities Overlay Zoning, this was the type of project I hoped we would find. As everybody here knows, there are very few lots in town that are available to build on. And now we have one. It is large. It would result in several smaller, affordable-ish units. And I very much hope that the owner and developers can find a way to meet the requirements as specified by law in the overlay zone and build such a project. Elevators, small units, a place like I could downsize to, very attractive. Would very much like such a project to happen in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi there, Jason Haas, 105 Everett Street. I'm in a butter. My concerns are a few. One is that several of the neighbors in the shadow study, they're going to lose access to solar rights, so their capacity to put solar on their own homes. Second, and I am not an architect, but there was a lot of discussion last time about the waste or the stormwater system and not being upgraded. I didn't hear anything about upgrading the stormwater system this time, so I just wanted to ask about that, especially because if you're using these cistern systems, it's a really gritty corner, so those cisterns are gonna fill up really quickly, I can tell you. I'm the guy who shovels out the excess water every winter. My other major concern is, oh boy, just blanked it. I don't understand where the driveway, if the driveway is coming straight out, then it's gonna like shoot in mine or my neighbor's window, depending on exactly where the driveways are. So that is another concern of mine. And then, I also just have to say that it looks like a hotel in the middle of the desert, or a computer card from the 60s. We need to do better. a lot of these MBTA communities, houses, it's all distributed in two-family zoning. So we can decide to turn all of these two-family houses along roads into shoeboxes, or we can really demand, as the chair suggested, something better, something a little more beautiful, because those communities are going to endure all the construction for a decade. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes.
Adam Lane, 77 Grafton Street, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. I'd like to echo the chair's remarks about the articulation of the ground story. While I have concerns about the mass of the building, I think they would be easier to take, the mass would be easy to take if the ground story was better articulated. In particular, I would also echo Mr. Slotnick's concerns about the retail space. It is really going to be on an island, and it will be hard to support an establishment in that area. It needs to be more appealing, have more street appeal. The windows need to be better. I actually find the entrance to the retail space and to the residential space to be rather clumsy. I do not understand why, in a facade that is all 90-degree angles and straight lines, we have two rather misproportioned arches. And I agree with the chair's concerns that the signage is going to be somewhat confusingly placed above the current design. So I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Yes.
Claudia Hughes, East Arlington, Webster Street. I think this is a money grab. I think this is an opportunity for people who want to just make a lot of money off of the backs of the residents of Arlington. I think the MBTA thing was pushed onto us, and we shouldn't have accepted it like other towns. I would like other neighborhoods in Arlington who are a little bit more affluent to put a great big 5-story building in there right next door to their house and see how they like it. I think this doesn't go well with the rest of the neighborhood. I think it's just, let's just get in here and we'll sell this and we'll move on. These people are not going to be living here. What do they care about the neighborhood? I think it's wrong, and I think if you come from a different part of this town and you think that this is okay for us down in East Arlington, put a house like this on your neighborhood and see how it feels. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Yes.
My name's Jack Ignazio. I live on 73 Everett Street, and I know Mr. Revnick brought up the trash, and I didn't see that that had gotten kind of firmed out and how they were going to do that, because snow removal was brought up as well. That's another, there's not going to be a yard to throw the snow in, so it's going to go on the sidewalk. So I know they're going to have trash inside somehow, but if that doesn't happen, is every unit going to get a recycle bin and a trash bin? I mean, how is that going to work?
That is a question that is open for the applicant. It's not something that the board can answer.
Okay, so would that be, we're going to hear more about this? And get
We have a giant list of things, yes, and that is on the list of additional items to review with the applicant.
As well as the snow removal?
I believe that they answered the snow removal question by indicating that they would be removing the snow off-site, but we the trash removal is still on our list.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this hearing item this evening? Okay.
I did have just a quick, I didn't hear the off-site part before. That is a no heavy trucking road, so you actually can't bring it.
We can certainly, again, make sure that just so that everyone understands, snow removal is typically a special condition in any approval. So the way that snow is removed is typically included in the conditions of any special permit that's granted. This is a site plan approval, so similarly, we would have special conditions potentially that we could include in a site plan approval as well. So at this time, I'd like to close public comment and turn this back over to the board. We did have several topics that I think we should start with discussing, including a few of the questions from that were brought up from the public comment period. One of, I think the first being the 2 bonus provisions that the applicant is requesting, specifically the request for an additional story and the discussion about whether the current number of affordable units are in compliance, or if an additional unit would be required. And the other item of the percentage occupancy of the commercial space and whether that meets the provisions which would allow the building to go to a 0 setback from Broadway. So, Steve, we'll start with you.
So, I can address the affordable housing calculation.
Please.
So there's the section of our bylaw that provides the affordability requirements. It's section 8.2, but it goes into a set of details about how that number is calculated. And, normally under if this were being done outside of, or just, with any multifamily development, there would be a 15% requirement. So it's 0.15 times the number of dwellings, and you get a number, and you essentially round it. The bylaw actually goes as far as saying, in determining the number of affordable units required, calculation of a fractional unit of 0.5 or more shall be rounded up to the next whole number. So 0.5 or greater, you round up. Less than 0.5, you round down. For example, if a person were proposing a building with 7 dwellings, the requirement would be 1 affordable unit, even though that is only 14.7%. So I believe the applicants are meeting the requirement by providing 3, because under the existing IZ code, they would only need to provide 2. Regarding the, I'll stop there in case we want to dwell more on inclusionary zoning calculations.
Gene?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Revelak's reading of the zoning bylaw. The 14 units at 22.5% is about 3.1. If you look at the other part of the zoning bylaw that says how you calculate how many affordable units, as Mr. Revelak said, if it's 0.5 or more, you round up. If it's less 0.5, therefore you have to round down. So 3 meets the requirement of the zoning bylaw to give them the bonus floor. And, that provision in the section on affordable housing has been used and interpreted the same way forever, as far as I know. So it's not like we're making something up new for this particular building. I will say, we said this last time, but just to be clear, in case folks weren't here last time, this is site plan review, which is different than special permit review. Special permit review gives the redevelopment board much more authority to say no or to impose many conditions. Site plan review, which was required by the state MBTA communities law, basically says they have a right to do this if they meet all the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So we have much less discretion on some of these things. As you will hear in a few minutes, we do have some things like the amount of parking where we do have some discretion because the bylaw gives us that discretion.
Shana?
I think Jean summarized it and Steve summarized it quite well. The bylaw is clear in my mind and has been applied in a consistent manner for quite some time.
Ken?
As it goes to the the affordable unit, I believe they have met the criteria, and I have no questions about that.
Okay. The next item is the bonus for the zero setback requirement. And again, we'll start with Steve.
So there's, and again, I'll be looking for Ms. Corman in Houston and Mr. Lau to give me a reality check if I've misremembered this, but I do believe that the denominator in the 60% calculation is the gross area of the first floor. So it would be 1,817 square feet. And given 1,400 feet of commercial space, out of 1817, that puts them at 70-something%, which I believe exceeds the 60% requirement.
Gene?
Well, I disagree completely with that analysis. Let's start with the zoning bylaw itself. What it says is you can pull the property up to the sidewalk and don't have to have a front setback if the ground floor at street level will be at least 60% occupied by eating and drinking establishments, etc. So what do we mean by the ground floor at street level and whether it's 60%? The zoning bylaw does not define ground floor. So what we look at when it's not defined in the zoning bylaw are other things that we can look at to determine what ground floor is. So, for example, the definition of ground floor in most dictionaries is the floor of a building most nearly on a level with the ground. Makes sense, right? So the question still remains, is it just the part that has the commercial space, or does it also include the bicycle parking and the parking area for the cars? Now, if we had said the gross floor area, which we didn't say, we said the ground floor, we would come up with a different. So what's the ground floor? Well, let's take a look at the Massachusetts building code, because that's the next place you usually look to try to see what it says. So what's the area of a building under the building code? The area this is up from 780 CMR 502, part of the building code. Building area. The area included within surrounding exterior walls or exterior walls and firewalls, exclusive of vent shafts and court, is the area of the building. Areas of the building not provided with surrounding walls, this is the important part, shall be included in the building area if such areas are included within the horizontal projection of the roof or floor above. And that's exactly what we have here. All of those other areas are right included with the floor above. My analysis, based on that, is they cannot be up to the sidewalk unless at least 60% of the ground floor, which includes the entire area under the building, is commercial. Now, what would we do if we went with Mr. Revelak's example instead? The more parking they put in, the smaller the commercial area would be allowed until there would be almost no commercial area. So the problem with Mr. Revelak's way of looking at this, it incentivizes people to put more parking and more things that he wouldn't count as part of the floor area. Whereas looking at the state building code, general definitions, I come to the conclusion that this does not meet the 60%, which, by the way, I've been consistent. That's what I said last time, too. And I would not allow them to have the building up to the sidewalk. They have to have it with the setback, which is 15 feet. Either that, or they have to figure out how to get up to 60% commercial on the ground floor. That's my analysis.
Thank you. I agree, Jane. I know that we spoke about this on another project on Mass Ave almost a year ago. And that also was the majority of the board's finding. Sheena?
So my recollection of the intent, not my interpretation, but of the intent of the MBTA Communities Working Group is, as Mr. Evelak recalls it, what we do with that is a separate question. I am not sure how I would like to proceed at this moment. I'd actually like to hear what Mr. Lau has to say, since he was also on the working group.
Great. Ken?
Well, I'll start off with saying I agree with Mr. Revelak. I was on the board with Steve, and their intent was 60% of occupied space. And that was the intent, and that's how we voted for that. And also, I like to state the fact that we've been voting this way for, I don't know, I've been on this board for 10 years, and we've always calculated, at least I've always calculated it this way. So I respectfully disagree with Mr. Benson here on how he interprets this. And I would say that we don't want to encourage more parking. We want to encourage more commercial space. I think one of our intents is to have they call it a 5-minute walking community, where you can live, work, eat, play, whatever, within a 5-minute walking community. I think that's some of the things we strive for. So I think that's what mixed use is about. And I don't want to get so much into the weeds, but I think that's what we're trying to achieve here, and I think we're trying to do that. There is some growing pains, I admit, and we can't look at this in terms of what's happening this year or next year. But this is the MBTA plan was something that we're going to look for the growth of this town for the next 50 years. And we have to look at it in terms of that. So I think the committee at that time really thought hard about that, not just for today and tomorrow, but the future of the kids, their kids. So I'm all for or I believe what Steve has said is the intent, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we proposed to do. So we have voted in many projects this way as a majority. I'll say that, Gene, and you have been consistent. I'll give you that too. But the majority of the board has always voted that the way we're doing right now is correct.
I think this is the first MBTA community, so
it is the first.
It is the first, and we're interpreting a section of MBTA communities that we haven't interpreted before. Also, the intent thing is a really shaky ground to be on, because after it went through the MBTA Communities Committee, there were public hearings. The board suggested and made changes before it got to town meeting and a town meeting vote. So I think, the intent is interesting, but I don't think it's dispositive of the answer.
Dan, let me.
I actually want to agree with Jean and just again echo that this is the first time that we are reviewing this particular provision. We have had this discussion before about what constitutes the ground floor. And in that case, the majority did identify, again, this was a different project, the interpretation that included the service and the service areas.
I just want to state that maybe the word intent is not clearly accurate, but I would like to say that that was that's what we understood, that's what we approved. I'm not changing something that we put forth there. That was our interpretation. That's my interpretation.
Okay, so we understand your position, mine, Jean's, and Steve's. Shane, I think we do need to provide them with some guidance, so we will need you to make a decision as to which way you would like to, move forward.
Yep, I think it, I tend to agree with Steve and with Ken that that the goal and the intent here was to have this be defined not as necessarily service areas, but of that occupiable area, and that in this sense, the commercial space is 60% or greater of that area.
Okay, so I think we have consensus on those two items. We do have quite a few other provisions that we should discuss with the board. Let's see, I have a list here.
Can I just interject? Just
Please,
so
Jean.
everybody knows, sometimes this board requires, or the law requires us to have at least 4 out of the 5 of us vote in favor, and sometimes the law requires 3 out of 5 in favor. I believe this is the 3 out of 5 in favor.
Correct. So I have the following items listed as next steps. If there are items that we feel require discussion, please identify those as I go through. We have a discrepancy between the plans, the architectural plans and the civil plans with regard to the overhang at the building frontage. We have, let's see, the solar system assessment, which is still missing and undersized, that needs to be addressed. We have the, let's see, I think that the tree species is currently under discussion with the tree warden. We have clarity around the specific implementation items for the TDM plan. We have a required change for, we need to address the building facade. It needs to be designed in such a way that it is contextual, that the massing is broken down, that the heaviness is alleviated, and items like the glass block windows, et cetera, which do not lend itself to the context of the neighborhood, are removed. We need to provide a detail for the window trim condition as discussed with Mr. Lau. We need more detail on the screening for the transformer on Everett Street. I believe we had a question around the height of the first floor as it pertained to ensuring that that was appropriate for a business use. I didn't see that on the plan. I may have missed that. Did you indicate that?
Yeah, clear ceiling height is 10 foot
10 foot 10. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. And we had also asked for a marketing plan. Again, with the bonus comes understanding that this will be used for specific types of retail use. So we need to understand that we need verification that that is the intent by the owner. Okay. Talked about the change in volume of the facades. We need to talk about the coloration of the building. It is very dark. And I know that you've brought some samples here. I'd ask that you really take a look at that. Parking garage lighting, I think you indicated that was on motion sensors, correct? And not on all night. And validation of trash removal and snow removal procedures. Again, it was unclear, it seemed unclear to the board. It seemed that the applicant was unclear as to whether this was town-provided or private hauler.
And for the TDM plan, I'd like something that says specifically what they're going to do, not
Yes,
sort of here are all the strategies,
Yes.
plus how much they're going to charge for one of the garage spaces, but also what sort of transit pass they're going to provide, because there's the bus and the bus subway combo. It would be helpful to know so we can decide whether that's appropriate.
Steve?
So, yes, in terms of, as far as, in the parking requirements for the MBTA communities section of our bylaw, we encourage applicants to provide fewer than one parking space per dwelling in exchange for a transportation demand management plan. And, the reduction under a TDM plan can be up to 75%. In this case, you're requesting a 64% reduction, which is substantial, or it's sizable. It's sizable. Rather than just simply subsidizing, I'd like to offer or rather than simply subsidizing transit passes, I would actually like to see the applicant offer to provide one link pass per month per tenant for as long as they are tenants. So basically, link pass is a combination for bus and subway. I think it's $90 a month. But I think that would be, a fair exchange.
Unless they rent one of the parking spaces.
Unless they rent one of the parking
And
spaces.
they don't get.
Yes.
Any other items? Okay, do you have any questions for the board on those items? Okay. So our next step would be to continue this hearing to a future date, and I'm going to ask Claire and Sarah from the Department of Planning and Community Development if you could identify available future dates. I know that we do have quite a few hearings coming up on our schedule.
Yeah, November 3rd is not available. We have currently November 17th or December 1st or December 15th. And that is the rest of our meeting schedule for the year.
And then we can look into January.
Correct.
But not beyond January.
November 17th? Okay. So keep in mind, Claire, if you could remind the applicant of the date, the date by which all materials would need to be submitted to the department?
Sure. So everything needs to be in the Thursday before. So that would be the 10th, I believe. So we need the materials at least a week in advance of the 17th.
So by Monday, November 10th?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that that's doable for you and your team. Okay?
You were asking about the detail, about the around the windows.
That was on my list.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. So is there a motion to continue, hearing number, excuse me, is there a motion to continue the public hearing for docket number 3862 for 126 Broadway to the evening of November 17th?
So
So,
motion.
Second,
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve,
Yes.
Jean,
yes.
Shayna,
Yes.
Kin,
yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you very much. All right. Yes, there's been a request to take a short recess. We'll take we'll take a 5-minute recess and restart at 9:15. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Hi. Oh, nice to meet you. Okay, great. Get that going. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead and start over there.
The rule says if you're 5.5 or above, you're on up. If you're below 0.5, you're on down.
No, we mostly dodged that bullet, but
The way it works is you say, you've got this many apartments. How many are going to be affordable? But the rule is, right now, forget MBTA communities, right now, is 6 or more units
number one
at that 15% affordable. If you get up to 25%,
What's your top?
so what's 22.5%? That's 3.1. So what do you do with 3.1? You are down and look at the bottom. It's a nice looking window. That's not the way to do it. It's you multiply. And that comes out to 3.1. You round it up or down. You look at the byline, it says round it up.
Okay.
I don't think there'll be another part that my colleagues disagree.
Well, I appreciate you explaining that.
And you have a Mac. You have a Mac, so I can't help you.
Check with Claire.
Do you want to try to use it? Do you want to try to use my charger? I mean, I don't have a Mac, but I do have the USB.
I'll see if that works. I
You check
appreciate
and
it.
see.
Sure,
Yeah,
thank you.
of course. He is aware that accessibility is. He does not have one. Yeah. that I could tell. So everything's on the townhouse. And the basement. Exactly. Plug in over here. We don't have one. Let's see what works. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Excellent. 9:15 and 2 minutes.
This does not end well. He's not like all
I'm going to have to start bringing my reading glasses because I had to brighten my screen way up because I couldn't see anything. Reading glasses are a new thing for me.
Oh, they're fun, huh?
Oh,
I had
yeah.
to, I have terribly poor eyesight, and interesting that they were there for that. Progressives, because at night I was taking my glasses off and doing one of these, or all the way down to read my book in bed, so.
Yep.
These were contacts.
I have progressives waiting to be picked up.
Here you go. I find them I'm still getting used to them. All right, are we good? Oh, my God, you're telling me it's time for bed.
I was mad at town meeting when everybody's phone starts to go off and it's like, bedtime, bedtime.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and, well, we'll wait for Jean. I'm premature.
I'll see if he's in the hall.
Oh, okay, thank you, Steve.
We missing somebody?
Jean.
Oh. Yes. Yeah. I want to put that on Park Street. Because when it rains heavily,
Yeah, we just have to be careful not to conduct
Oh, sorry.
business right now. All right, let's go ahead and get started again. We'll move to agenda item number 3, which is the continued public hearing for docket number 3857 for 225 Broadway, continued from September 8th, 2025. So similar to our process from our prior hearing, we will hear from the Director of Planning and Community Development, open this up to the applicant for a short presentation, hear from the board, open this up for public comment, and then turn it back over to the board. Thank you for coming to join us this evening. Much appreciated. All right, I'll turn it over to Claire.
Great, thank you. So on this project, the applicant proposes to demolish an existing 2-family dwelling and construct a multifamily dwelling with 4 units on the property at 225 Broadway. Materials submitted for consideration of this application include architectural plans and drawings, landscape plan, the application for site plan review, dimensional and parking information, impact statement, surveys, and the lead checklist. It's also my understanding that the proponent has changed designers since the board first heard this proposal, and so we'll be hearing from the new designer this evening, the new architect.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll turn it over to the applicant. Again, if you could introduce yourself, and then you'll have up to 8 minutes to present any of the materials that you'd like to share with the board.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name's Will Chalfant from KDI Architects. Our offices are located in Somerville. And as was referenced by Ms. Ricker, I was brought onto this after I believe you saw a previous iteration of this. So I wasn't privy to all of the previous comments. I heard some of them, but obviously we'll take all of those into your updated comments into consideration as we move forward. So if we could go to the next slide, I'll start the presentation. This is the existing plot plan. We can skip past this. We'll get to the nitty-gritty. Great. Thank you. So this is the architectural site plan. The building at the ground level is being identified with the sort of reddish haze here. From a zoning standpoint, we are compliant as far as our setbacks, our height, our massing, parking, bicycle parking as well. So the previous version, you were sort of presented with a garage door at the front. So I didn't quite understand that approach. So I thought as traditionally the front of the building should be a welcoming residential aesthetic, and we can push our parking to the rear away from common view. In that rear area, so we're partially under the building, but the parking spaces themselves are outbound from the footprint of the building. We're proposing pervious pavers in that area that will be obviously open to above, and asphalt in the remaining driveway and sort of parking articulation area. We're providing parking at the rear of the, trash at the rear of the building, tucked in behind the building out of view. We're also providing EV charging stations for these 4 spaces. We're sleeving those 2 stations rather, that can each handle 2 vehicles. And each unit is going to have private outdoor space via balconies and decks. The ground floor is fully accessible, and then we are proposing a limited use, limited access lift, which will lift, if needed, a resident to their first floor unit. I will note that the first floor unit is a duplex unit. between the basement and the upper and the first floor level, but it does have the ability, the lift itself, to have 3 stops, and we can have that go all the way down to the basement level as well. Just the basic statistics, four units, they're each around 1,700 square feet in size, all 3-bedroom, except for one, which is a 2-bed. So they're good size units, but can be adapted to, a family or someone looking to have a family down the line. So we go to the next sheet, please. So we did do a landscape plan. We used Mark Mazzarelli, who's a local landscape architect I'm quite familiar with, does great work. And Mark has created a planting plan here that is layered in nature, in the sense that it's going to provide visual interest and color season year-round, regardless of the season. We're also trying to shield that parking area along the side with a mix of plants and a 6-foot fence, which we're proposing around the rear and both side yards, as well as some visitor bike parking spaces, in the front yard there, which is highlighted with some pavers. And I can go through the plant list, but I think in interest of time, we'll just keep moving. Next slide, please. You can jump past that. Those are just the general gross square footage plans. The total square footage of the building is around 8,300 square feet. That is including the basement level. So this is unit 1, which is, as I mentioned before, a duplex unit. 2 bedrooms down on the lower level, along with family room space rather, and then the main living space on the main level, and a deck off the front. We did elevate the first floor to sort of keep with the existing nomenclature of the street as far as front stoops, creating that front stoop, not having it right at grade, raising that up so the folks on that first floor level, they can look beyond the plantings to the street beyond. We can go to the next slide, please. So the second floor is the only flat in the project. That takes up the entire second floor. This building is served by 2 staircases, as I'm not sure I mentioned that earlier, but that would be a building code item. So, and then the third floor is split in the middle, and those are duplex units with the 4th floor. So you can go to the next sheet and see these are all color coded. So the purple is that front unit, and the orange being the rear. And then on the roof level, we are showing where we're intending to put condensers for the HVAC equipment, as well as the location of where a solar array would take place. New energy code is going to require us to be prepared for that regardless, so we've allocated that whole front 2/3 of the roof for that. Next slide, please. So we've got the elevations here, sort of broke the massing down through a series of material changes and some trim articulation and just change in color. The ground floor level is comprised of masonry, brick, and then we go up to the middle section, which would be a cementitious clapboard, and then a cementitious panel on the top level. I will note that I heard the previous applicant mentioning mitering cementitious clapboards. That's not possible to do well. So we are showing large 11.25 inch 5/4 trim boards, which is sort of in keeping with more traditional architecture, heavy clapboards, heavy corner elements, an articulate, nice cornice, and then a little bit more detailed window trim around the windows. We're proposing 6/6 black windows. I'm saying right now Anderson, that's to be determined, obviously. And then for the trim, a lot of times something like an AZAC, I prefer a Baral because that is also a composite material. It's very hardy, but it's also paintable. So we can change the color of that depending on where it's falling within the facade. So we have some creams in the middle section, and on the brick areas, that might be a slightly different hue to match with the brick. So just wanted to point that out. Go to the next slide, please. So the top elevation there is the rear. You can see the parking below. So the building is effectively on stilts in that back half. That provides our circulation space for the vehicles. And then this is the side view elevation. And we can go to the next slide, gives a little more idea. So we've got some 3D perspectives here. again, just showing how we're sort of breaking down the massing through the use of, the balconies, trying to create almost a traditional triple decker. In this case, it's a quad decker. And then, as I mentioned before, we've got a nice covered entry over the front, bringing that scale down to the pedestrian streetscape. And then last sheet, this is a rendering showing this within context of its abutters. So obviously we are taller than the existing abutters, right around 13 feet. But we feel that it is appropriate, and over time will grow into more of what maybe this street becomes. I know that may not be what people want to hear, but we think that this is an appropriate scale for this section of Broadway. And with that, I'll leave it to the board.
Great, thank you very much. I first want to say I appreciate, I think, that the next page where you have a rendering in context, that was very helpful, so thank you for providing that. I also appreciate several of the architectural details which you included in the first 3 stories. I think that between the porch, the corner detailing, the articulation within the window, the mullion patterns, et cetera, that this certainly makes a much better attempt to pick up some of the context of the adjacent neighborhood. And you had me until the 4th floor. And I think that's something we're going to need to talk about. I think that I've seen, I went to see some of your work. I think you've done work within contexts like this where there have been really interesting approaches to marrying some of the architecture, whether it's roof lines, et cetera, to fit in or again to have more of a nod to the neighboring residential
Mansard roofs.
language. What's that?
Mansard roof. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, that is a lovely project there at Riles and Inman Square. We're not saying that.
No, yeah.
That I'm not saying that is the solution here, but you've done some great work, and I'd love to see some of that brought in here. I also believe that we need to step back at the 4th story there on Broadway. So that's something that is in the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
That you'll need to take a look at as well, which I think will help with the overall massing as well.
That'll help quite a bit, actually. I'm sorry.
We should talk about that later.
Okay, and that's something that we'll have a discussion about as a board. I want to also mention the accessible unit. You mentioned that are you suggesting that a lift is how you would approach that as opposed to an elevator?
Yeah.
Because it's not on grade?
Right, because we're entering at grade and our first floor of living space is elevated 3 feet, obviously that needs to become accessible. And a full-fledged elevator for this is just not honestly feasible from a monetary standpoint. The cost is going to outweigh it. And so this is providing the same access. You can roll in a wheelchair and still get up there. And it just looks like a closet door.
Right. So my concern is that I believe that a lift requires a variance from MAAB.
Yep.
And that is not something that is easily granted in my experience. So I would just want you to be able to address that. And it's something that I think we would want to address with the building inspector, who has been very consistent that for multifamily projects like this, that accessibility element needs to be addressed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Could I respond to that?
Please.
Or yeah. So we've actually applied for that variance many times. It's relatively common for us to install these in units of, I would say, 4 to 6, just because again the cost of an elevator is typically around $250,000, and that's usually something we can convince. I've been before the board. I understand it's typically folks that are handicapped, and so you have to make a good argument. And I feel this is an applicable situation for something like that. We've installed them. I've probably done 25 of them. They are rarely used. Not saying that they don't get used, but it's something that I hate to make a declarative statement like a handicapped person may not necessarily purchase in a building like this, but there are certain barriers that wouldn't be, we're providing the access, but it may not otherwise meet their needs. I did see there was a comment from I believe it may just be a town member regarding the space, the handicap parking space. We do have the ability of the far right space. We have 5 feet adjacent to it that will not be impeded by a column that would meet the requirements of a handicap parking space.
A convertible parking
Yes,
space.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
that back right space without doing any structural changes, which is one of the the gray area line wording of
Understood.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Sorry. So yes, but understanding that there is a variance required for that, that was the approach we were taking on this.
Okay. I will turn it over to Ken.
Well, I'd like to thank the owner for selecting this big change. This building is a lot more contextual than what was before, and for taking some of the issues that we've talked here. There's only, I think Rachel touched on most of the things I had talked about or want to talk about. There's still I'll let some of the other board members talk about the bicycle storage, because you have it all exterior right now, and I'll let them weigh in on that and how we might recommend approaching that.
They'll also weigh in on the solar study. We each have roles.
And I will pass that baton over to my other board members about the solar. I'm just going to sort of stay with the architecture for now, just not so we're not repeating ourselves over and over again. Yeah, your first 3 floors are great. On the upper floors, you could do, like you said, a mansard system, or is there a parapet up there or anything that's...
I've got a 16-inch parapet.
Yeah, I think maybe eliminating that and just bringing it down would help a lot. Getting rid of the cornice that's up there. It looks like you have a foot overhang or anything, just to minimize that transition.
Sure.
So that it would look, and then when I look at the elevations, the top looks very heavy, just because of the color. Okay?
I think the color is partly.
But then when I look at the rendering,
it's very dark in the rendering, and
no, actually, I don't mind as much on the rendering, because I see a lot of black roofs here and there. So, but I would like you to readdress that. Okay, just look at that again. I have all the faith in you to come up with something nicer. Okay. So I think that's all I have for now. I applaud you for this 9-day difference that we got here. Okay, and if you can address the solar and the bicycles, I think we've got a project.
Sure.
Thank you. Shayna?
Thank you. So as my colleagues have alluded to, I am fairly certain that the bike parking you've proposed is not compliant, that you'll need covered bike parking of some nature. I'm also concerned that from a usability standpoint, it would be very difficult to get bikes in and out of that particular location. I believe that the front porch, the front entry detail sticks out beyond the setback. If you could take a look at that and confirm that the detail is compliant, that would be great. The buffer between the driveway and the property line, what on the
site plan?
On the site plan, what did you intend to have there? I see there's a fence, and then...
Yeah, so it was really just trying to be more genuine about the reality of the fence is going to take up some space. It's not going to be this thin line, so I'm giving about 11 1/4 inches to play with there, which I think should be ample for the both the boards and the posts themselves. So I'm under no illusion it's going to be landscape strip. I think on the landscape plan itself, it's calling for gravel.
Okay.
But that was the thought with that.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't see on the landscape plan, so it's
Oh,
a
okay.
helpful clarification. Snow storage. What is the intention for managing snow on this site?
Well, it's mostly the driveway that would be affected with that, obviously. So my initial thought is to put it where these terrible bike racks I've placed are, but I'm not sure it's going to work like that. So I do think we have some space to push it to the left-hand side as you make the turn. I mean, I think the right answer is a private snow company needs to remove that snow. I think we know that that's always sounds great, and I think we'd like to think that's how this is going to work. It's a small enough driveway that I feel that either a small Bobcat or a couple snowblowers, we could pile that in some areas. I can identify those areas and verify with the landscape architect that the plantings shown are hardy enough to take potentially where those snow areas would be. But I think ideally we would be dealing with this on site. So we can identify those areas and give sort of some square footage to that if you'd like.
That would be helpful, thank you. Let's see. Will this building be sprinklered or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's a sprinkler room. It's actually tucked underneath the front entry stair on the back side of the corridor. In my experience on jobs this size, we can handle this with a tank system that doesn't require an elaborate amount of space.
Okay, great. And the solar array, I think we're going to need a solar study.
I heard from
Eyeballing. Eyeballing, this is not a sufficient size, but we'll
Got
see.
it.
And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Jean?
Okay, I'll just sort of add on to the solar. If you look at our rules and regulations, which are online, you'll see what's required
Okay.
for the solar assessment. And it's not simply to have the roof solar ready, it has to be actual solar
Okay.
put on there, at least 50%. If you can't find it, ask the the planning director for help with that. I'm trying to understand how Unit 1 is accessible, so help me out here. If you come in through the residential lobby on the first floor, there's a little lift so that you can go in to the first floor. If you want to go into the basement level, you go in on the side. Is that right?
No, you enter at the lobby level, go into that lift. That lift either takes you up to your first floor. Now that level's a duplex, so it has an internal staircase. We can make that lift also go down to the basement
So
level.
I didn't
It's not
see-
shown on the
no, it's-
basement plan.
right,
I can
that's-
amend that. Yes,
That's
you're
that's
correct.
what I was wondering.
Yep.
All right, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
On the handicap parking piece, so the rule for the handicap parking is that the space itself has to be 11 feet wide, so wider than standard 8.5, and it has to have the 5-foot adjacent access aisle.
I'm not familiar with that code. I believe the minimum width is 8 feet for a parking space.
No, right, but for a handicap parking space, it's 11 feet.
It's 8 feet plus a 5-foot drive aisle adjacent to it.
Well, we'll have to figure this out.
I can bring the code book in if you
Right,
like.
I looked up the code book, so
Okay,
maybe I got
sure.
it wrong. But I think it would be helpful to determine which one that is, because if it's 8, you can probably fit it with the
5.
5-foot aisle.
Yep.
I don't know how you could do it if it's 11,
It's not possible.
other than you'd have to get rid of one of the parking spaces.
Yeah, for a handicapped van, you're required an 8-foot aisle adjacent to the space. For traditional space, it's a 5-foot aisle. But I can bring the code
Yeah,
section
because
in and show that
I
to you.
think the difference is the space itself, how wide it has to be.
Sure. Okay.
I also had concerns about the color of the fourth floor in context of everything else. I'll let my colleague, Mr. Revelak, talk about the bicycle ones, and then if he doesn't get to everything I would get to, then I'll go back, but that's it other than the bicycle parking.
Great, go ahead.
Okay, a couple of questions. Director Ricker, could you pull up sheet A020? It's the site plan showing the parking. Yep, that's it. Could you just, so first question, how wide is the drive aisle behind the 4 parking spaces?
20 feet.
20 feet?
I know Arlington has a 24-foot requirement.
25 feet.
That is obscenely wide for urban living. I understand that. I mean, if we have to do it, we will do it. That is, unless you're driving a 1975 Lincoln Mark 8 and doing it, I mean, I think it's too wide. We do 20 feet in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge. It's sufficient. We can certainly, if that's a non-starter, it's a non-starter, but I feel that it's bad urban planning to have these expanses of asphalt that could be shrunk, because we would effectively be losing our planting strip at the rear of the parking space if we did that.
Yeah, and is the intention that vehicles would pull into the spaces and then just back out onto the street?
No, they can do a 3-point turn.
They can do a 3-point?
I can provide you a turning radius diagram if you'd like.
Okay, no, the being able to, if there's room for a 3-point turn, that was sort of my next question. And
Sure.
Okay, that's great. And what kind of, there will be a fence sort of in front of where the cars are parked? So basically screening, headlight screening to the adjacent property?
Correct, yes. That there's fencing called for that entire, those three sides other than the front.
Okay.
Along Broadway.
All right, great. And then in terms of long-term bicycle requirements, the actual part of the bylaw is 6.1.12.c.
Okay.
6.1.12c. But basically, the two components are that the bicycles be protected from the elements.
Okay.
And that they be secure, or the ability to store the bicycle securely. So often this is done with a bicycle room. We have also
about lockers.
Yeah, lockers are another option, but the 2 spaces in front of, at the head of each parking space, I don't think that meets the requirement for long-term bicycle parking.
Sure.
And just a last comment, I did appreciate sort of the nod to, the traditional double-decker. I also felt the 4th floor needed a little work, but I think my colleagues have talked about that.
Sure. Could I get sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Just a quick clarity on the bike. Is there a and I don't mean for you to teach me the zoning while I'm here. Is there a provision for a certain percentage to be mounted versus ground racked? Like, could you use a rack with an actuator that lifts
Yes,
it up?
so the requirement is that the bike, you not have to lift it off the ground, but we have approved projects where with 2-level racks and some sort of mechanical assist to, spring load or whatever to give it up. Yep.
Okay. And I'm sorry, last clarification.
Go for it.
Would you consider underneath the building protected as or would it need to be truly a conditioned space?
It would need to, I believe it would need to be enclosed, though not necessarily conditioned.
All right.
Think of storing a bike, like I store mine in a basement, right?
Sure.
It's protected from the elements. It's secure. It's 47 degrees in the winter. So I think
right,
that's
the
okay.
pipes aren't going to freeze in the bike. I just wondered, from a logistical standpoint, if I were to say place them where the trash cans are now and try to find a different location for the trash, would that be considered protected, being that it's underneath the building? Or, I mean,
it's got to be enclosed.
Got it. Okay.
You can use lockers in addition.
Lockers are very expensive, but yeah.
All right, nothing further, Madam Chair.
Any other comments from the board before we open up for public comment? Okay, at this time, we invite anyone who joined us this evening who wishes to address the board on this item to please raise your hand. Yes. And again, I'll remind everyone, you'll have up to 2 minutes each to address the board. Please introduce yourself by your first, last name, and address, and please make your way to the front here when I call on you.
So, Mike Hogan, I'm not giving my address, I'm a police officer. I've been threatened before in town, very well known, so I'm not giving out my home address, but I live on that side street.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yep, so I live right in that neighborhood. So, this is ridiculous. what he just said is exactly what's going to happen. They're planning for the future because this does not fit consistently, which is what is in the neighborhood. So all the neighbors now are going to get frustrated, and they're just going to sell, because that's 2 floors higher than the 2 properties on either side. So it's going to be 3 bedrooms in each one. There's no way that they're only going to have 4 cars, unless there's going to be some agreement that they're not going to have other cars. I don't know where they're going to park. There's a bus stop directly in front of that property. On either side, there's elderly people that don't have to compete with anybody now for parking. So when they pull up and they help their elderly mother into the house, which is right next door, there's no competition for that spot. With those 4 spots, you're going to have at least 8 vehicles in that neighborhood. At least, no question. Now, everybody else is competing for those parking spaces there. On top of that, the sight line right there at Broadway and Wyman is one of the busiest and most dangerous intersections in Arlington. There's car accidents all the time. That's directly going to affect that. But the 4 floors is completely not consistent with that neighborhood. And I live 4 houses from that. That's ridiculous. And I don't think, I'm so frustrated right now, because I didn't come to the first meeting. I didn't know it was going to look like that. This is going to change the entire neighborhood where I've lived for 30 years. This is unfair, that design. So,
Thank you very much.
that's all I got for you.
Anyone else this evening? Please.
Hi, I'm Claudia Hughes. I live on Webster Street. I'm a lifelong resident of Arlington. The house to the left of this house property is my uncle's. My great-grandfather built that house. My uncle, who's going to be 101 this year, lives in that house. He's not happy with this whole thing. He thinks 4 flights are wrong. I think he did say that his father grandfather made this house that's being put up. Having 4 flights is detrimental to the happiness in this neighborhood. People like the neighborhood. This is not a neighborhood house. It doesn't look like any of the other houses. And to have a 4th floor up there, it's unnecessary. You don't need it. It takes away from any kind of shade, sunlight that the other people on the other side of the house is going to get. The parking is already rough in that neighborhood, in that corner. The people across the street from us, they've got a lot of tenants. There's cars out there all the time. So this 4-car thing is just a joke. There's no way. I think the new perspective is better than the old, way better. I think they listened to what you had to say on what you wanted for whatever, but again, I think it's someone comes into town and decides, okay, I'm just going to make a lot of money off of this place. I'm going to put up a Lego house and one that looks like every other new 2000s houses that we see. They have no character. They don't look like anything else in the neighborhood. I think it's wrong, and I think 3 floors maybe is fine, but to have the extra floor up top and to have it so dark like that and to not blend in with the rest of the neighborhood is just, it's just saying that you really don't care about your neighbors if you're going to do that. And you're going to just move in, and you're not going to move in, you're just going to sell it. The guy that owns it isn't going to live there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Yes.
Hi there, my name's Catherine McParland. I live at 227 Broadway, so right next door to the house. I'm not going to repeat the things that have already been brought up about parking, which obviously is a huge concern for me, but some of the things that I don't think have been talked about tonight are, I'm concerned about shadows. Our properties are very close together already. Having 4 stories next to our 2-story house is really going to take away any sunlight from our yard. So I'm curious to know if a shade study has been done, and if not, if that's something that could take place. One of the things that I was curious about too is venting for the heating systems for the house. I think previously it was requested that that was on the roof, and I'm not seeing that in the drawing, so I'm just wondering if that is indeed on the roof or whether it will be on the sides of the house. Again, concerns about that, just being so close to our home. And then questions about trash removal, whether this will be town services or private services. You know, currently there's just not enough room in the front of the house for 8 barrels to be picked up every week, so I'm just wondering if that's something that's been considered yet. Yeah. That's all, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak this evening? Great. Seeing no one else, we will close public comment and turn discussion back to the board. There were a couple questions that were raised regarding one of the items, as you probably heard in the previous item that we discussed, and one of the conditions that we typically add is that there is no venting on any of the vertical facades of the building. Everything needs to go through the roof. Like the other applicant, being able to address trash removal, and whether, again, that is town or private hauler, much like you are going to be looking at where the snow removal location is, a clarification there would be helpful. It looks like you have it sized for town pickup?
Yeah, two each for each unit.
Okay, so again, if you can, much like you're looking at, is there the space for the storage for the snow? Let's make sure we have room for that to be accommodated as well. We do typically require a solar study, so a shadow, I believe the shadow. Yes, just a shadow diagram would be helpful. Thank you. I have a list from the board. Are there any topics that you would like to review before we get to a list of items to be addressed?
One thought on the shadow study. I find that if possible, it can be helpful to overlay existing shadows with proposed future shadows.
Yeah, we typically do one in one color, one in another. So
Yep. Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Let's see, I would like to have the building inspector, again, because we work so closely with him, Claire, on requirements for accessible units, to just weigh in on his, I would like for him to weigh in on the proposed compliance strategy of the lift, and the application for a variance if that becomes a need, if we could. Anything else before I run through our list of items for the applicant to address in the future?
Shana mentioned it, but I just want to sort of highlight it again. The little projection over the front door, if it goes into the setback, the front setback, it can't be greater than 25 square feet. So you might want to take a look at our zoning bylaw, 5.3.9, because that talks about that. So, and you don't really have any measurement on it that I could see for what it is. So you need to take a look at that. I just wanted to follow.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
helpful.
And can I say something about the
course.
step back, which you had mentioned?
Yes, please.
So that was modified a couple of years ago. So now the upper story step back shall be measured from the principal property line for the building.
That's right, thank you. And this is setback, so
This is
yes.
setback,
Thank
so
you very
they're
much,
cool.
Jean. I
Need a
appreciate
step
your
back.
clarification there.
I know.
Keep me honest.
Stuff.
Okay, anything else? No. All right, so I'll run through the list of items to be addressed. Let's see, for the accessible unit, clarifying that the lift does extend down into the basement. and showing the handicapped parking. Again, I don't believe a van space is required. A handicap space plus the proposed side aisle, if you can identify that conversion opportunity, that would be helpful. We'll look at more articulation and contextualization of the upper story so that it is more in the language of the neighborhood, and the first 3 stories, including the palette and the materials. We need to see a solar study and a minimum of 50% coverage, or a pathway to an exemption if that is what will be required. And again, depending on what you do with perhaps pitching the roof or whether it stays a flat roof, that will all definitely need to play into that piece. Bicycle storage will need to be covered bike parking per the long-term bike storage requirements in 6.1.12C. The front porch detail, identifying whether it fits into the setback, and if so, the size, and ensure that that is in alignment with the zoning code. Identifying the location for snow removal and storage on site, if that is the approach. The same with trash removal, town or private, and ensure if it is town that there is adequate space at the front of the lot for pickup. Ensure that venting for the systems is not included in any of the vertical facades, and to review the drive aisle size in alignment with the requirements of the bylaw. Is there anything else that I missed?
I'll just note
Steve?
that I was incorrect. Mr. Benson pointed out that it is 24 feet and not 25.
Yes, it is 24 feet,
Yes.
yes.
Apologies for that.
Anything else?
I think it might, in light of a lot of the comments, I just want to say, and I said this with the other one too, for MBTA communities, if it meets the zoning bylaw, we can't say no. The zoning bylaw says a minimum of 1 parking space per unit, so we can't require more. It says on this location, it can be 4 stories high. So we are constrained by that piece of it.
Thank you, Jean, for the clarification.
And just because it has also come up, the requirement of 1 space per dwelling unit is not unique to MBTA communities. That applies to, that's townwide, any residential dwelling that you build, it's 1 space per dwelling.
Thank you, Steve, for the clarification. Okay, with those, do you have any questions about the requests?
Only one, Madam Chair, and that was just related to the trash pickup, I guess, clarification, or, so would when you say feasible, I mean, I think.
You have 8 barrels.
No,
So-
I know. So I guess my question is, this isn't simply a matter of showing that 8 barrels can fit there regardless of the fact that it's a bus stop. This is more about, is that even feasible? And whether or not it should be go to a
feasible?
2-yard dumpster and
Correct.
private. Got it. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the clarification.
No, perfect.
So our next step here would be to continue this hearing to a future date. So I will again turn it over to the Department of Planning and Community Development to look at our upcoming calendar.
All right.
How many do we have now for our 2nd November?
For the 17th, we only have the continuance of 126. I'm thinking maybe for this one, December 1st makes sense.
We do have, I mean, that is our only hearing on the 17th is the other?
That's our only other hearing.
Right.
Unless you
So
wanna go down.
that is a hearing opportunity, November 17th, or we'd need to push to December 1st. Okay. Do we have anything else on the agenda? We do have other things on the agenda.
Oh,
But
right.
that shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, I don't think that should, I think we should be able to do 2 hearings for a second and a third hearing. Yes. One would hope.
Let's do it for the 17th if we can.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We don't, yeah, I'd like to not put an undue burden on timing. Okay, is there a motion to continue the public hearing for docket number 3857 for 225 Broadway to the evening of November 17th?
So motioned.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes.
Shayna.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. We will see you back. Thank you so much. All right, that now closes agenda item number 3, and we'll move to agenda item number 4, which is a presentation of the status and progress on the comprehensive plan. And I'll turn it over to Claire. Yes. And I'll just remind everybody that we still are in an active meeting, so if you do have conversations, if you could please continue them in the hall, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. All right, Director Ricker.
Great. Okay, thank you. So this is a project update on the AMP Up Comprehensive Plan update project that DPCD has been working on for about the past year. We are going to talk tonight about, where are we in the project? What have we done so far? What have we learned so far? What's left to do? And then, of course, if you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer them. So to start, where are we? We have completed about 3 of these items. The project initiation, where we have completed inventory analysis and some existing conditions analysis have been done. Community visioning, we had our kickoff meeting in April. We've been doing extensive community outreach ever since. But where we are right now is in the plan development phase. So using the data from our public outreach, we've drafted a vision statement, topic area goals, and we're currently developing strategies to meet the goals. Strategies will be workshopped at the next public event, which will be held a week from Thursday at 6 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. All right, so what have we done? There we go. We have been doing, again, as I said previously, extensive public outreach, especially through our website, where we've received over 500 survey responses in the visioning phase, over 600 interactive map contributions, almost 500 responses to 2 quick polls. This is an interesting fact. I think we've had a total of almost 4,000 visitors to the website, with almost 1,000 contributions from distinct contributors since April. Our activity peaks have been in mid-May and early July, early August, and early October, and I think that they coincide with some of the press we've been doing and some of the news articles we've been releasing through the town and in other venues. When I do my ACMi update, I often talk about the project, and after that we get a little run on the website, which is great because it continues to demonstrate that people are aware of the process and are staying interested. So for our public outreach, some of the events we've been to, we've been everywhere this summer. We've been to the Farmers Market, National Night Out, the Beer Gardens, of course, Town Day, a few events that the Robbins Library has put on, the Silk Street Block Party, Porch Fest, and more than that. DPCD, actually Sarah developed a quick written survey for use at community events. We've received over 100 of those. We got 50 at Town Day alone, and we had at least one AMP Up volunteer work with an interpreter at the farmers market to get survey responses from those who may not speak English as a first language, which I thought was a really great method of outreach. The comprehensive plan, it provides an overall long-range policy direction, so it's necessarily broader. We initially met with some committees, including the Bicycle Advisory Committee, the Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Tree Committee. But what we learned that inviting the people who are doing the work is likely more productive. Inviting the people who are doing the work to a separate focus group is likely more productive than meeting with each committee separately. So we hosted, we're in the process of hosting, or we've already hosted several focus groups where we're seeking to answer questions such as, what issues and topics do you hear about most frequently? What issues and topics do you think will be important for the town to consider over the next few years? So this topic-specific input from these focus groups supports elements of the comprehensive plan. We've met with several of these groups to get this more focused input. I think it's important that we are, really engaging with the folks that are doing this work in Arlington. Our final focus group that we have scheduled is an economic development, which I believe is on Wednesday night. Do you know time and location?
Town Hall, I think.
It's in Town Hall, that's right. Excuse me, it's in Town Hall. And that will be our final focus group, and we will wrap up a lot of the community outreach with that event on Wednesday. And I also wanted to point out some existing conditions, some of the work that we've done. This is data that's mostly derived from the 2020 census and the 2020 to 2022 American Community Survey. Over the past decade, although we have increased our housing stock by about 1,000 units over the last 20 years, over the past decade, the number of housing units permitted annually has trended downward, although the population has slightly increased. Our population is getting older. While median household income has grown faster than inflation, we still have housing cost burdened renters, a significant percentage, about a third, and then about 20% of homeowners who are housing cost burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Median home price in 2024 was just under $1 million. That has increased 56% since 2018. Median rent has increased 18% since 2019 to $2,043. Some other highlights, healthcare and social services is the largest employment sector in Arlington. Most residents work outside Arlington, but working from home has remained high since the pandemic. All right. So what have we learned? Using the data collected through Midsummer, Stantec identified the top 3 to 4 priorities for community members. They've also used that data to draft an updated plan vision for the comp plan that was workshopped with the advisory committee. So this is the draft vision that was drafted by Stantec and workshopped by the AMP-UP committee. Arlington will be a welcoming place with attainable housing options, flourishing business districts, and a strong sense of community. Key features will include, and then there's a list of the key features that we think will support this vision statement, including attainable housing options, thriving business districts, inviting safe streets, open spaces, natural systems, stewardship and promotion of our historic heritage, cultural and recreational resources that provide shared experiences, meaning intergenerational experiences, experiences for those who are seeking more passive recreation versus those who are seeking more active recreation, new development and redevelopment that enhances sustainability and resilience, and then of course a shared interest in civic engagement and the town's fiscal health. Similarly, Stantec workshop goals and policies for each of the plan topic areas with the advisory committee, and I've highlighted a couple of them here that I thought would be interesting to the board, including those for land use, to increase the amount and variety of residential and non-residential development opportunities, to encourage development that enhances Arlington's natural resources, built environment, and sustainability, and then to attract development that supports and expands the economic, cultural, and civic vibrancy of Arlington's commercial areas. So these are draft goals. We have our draft vision, we have our draft goals. We'll be using these to start the conversation about strategies and actions that may help us get to these goals. And that conversation, again, starts on a week from Thursday. Draft goals and policies as they relate to housing, encourage mixed-use development that includes attainable housing options at all income levels, especially near transit and in established commercial areas, provide a variety of housing options for a range of incomes, ages, family sizes, and needs, enhance the fabric of Arlington's residential neighborhoods while allowing new housing and amenities, and encourage sustainable new construction and renovation of existing structures. And then finally, draft goals and policies as they relate to economic development. I think these are really interesting and maybe of interest to the board. Improve regulatory processes to benefit small independent businesses. I know that in some of the conversations that were being had around these goals, the sign bylaw came up, so that's something I think we could, look at improving potentially. Increase the build-out potential and value of commercial and industrial properties. I think that speaks to zoning and maybe rezoning. To promote Arlington's historic and cultural assets and support a visitor-based economic development, so looking to really expand our tourism, our tourism sector, improve customer experience through placemaking, streetscape improvements, wayfinding, parking, and access upgrades, create and support organizational capacity as it relates to economic development. So a lot of these are applicable to some of the work that we're doing now related to the Arlington Heights Business District, but also I think these are good goals for us to work to implementing, work to developing strategies to try to achieve. So what's left to do? Okay, so we're going to continue plan development, including next week. We'll be doing plan development workshops. We're likely going to have a table for each plan topic area, so people can gravitate to the topics they're most interested in. It may likely be a drop-in style open house kind of meeting, so if someone wanted to come in and talk about only transportation, for example, they can do that. We've done the visioning forum. We're moving into plan development workshops now. Plan writing is a next is a task to be done. The drafting will be done by Stantec. The draft will be reviewed by DPCD and then provided to the advisory committee for review and comment. We will hold a draft plan open house. So that will be a public meeting to present the draft plan. Stantec will then edit the document based on edits that arise from committee comment and review, as well as public input from the draft plan presentation. The final draft will be presented to the ARB in the spring, and we're aiming for town meeting time to complete a final draft of the project. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the comprehensive update and all of the work that has gone into where we are today. It's really exciting to see the summary of all of the data, and I bet that some of the raw data is very, very interesting to dive into as well.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll take any questions for Claire, starting with Steve.
Yes, I have a question. I was looking back to our last master plan, or last comprehensive plan effort, which is from 2015. And for the spring 2015 town meeting, the select board entered a warrant article, which was a resolution to support the comprehensive plan. That was inserted by, well, actually, the redevelopment board inserted the article, but the select board reported on it because it's not zoning, it's a resolution. And I was, at some point in the future, we should talk about whether it's desirable to do something like that in, this year, and what the logistics of that might look like.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I think that's worth, it's certainly something in the back of my mind about when exactly we are going to be taking drafts out to the public, and how long we're going to allow for review and comment on those drafts. Stantec is responsible for one round of edits. I would like, our comment and review to be as comprehensive as possible, but at some point, we're going to have to just submit and let them do their edits and come up with the final draft. I think we'll likely, I will likely coordinate with Ashley at the select board to see if this is something that this select board warrant article that they would want to progress for this town meeting. I think I'm most interested in let's do the project to the best of our ability more than I am about meeting, a deadline right now. It's something, again, this is a plan that needs to be approved by this board, but, needs to be, potentially endorsed by the select board or town meeting, but neither of those are necessary. They're sort of I don't want to call it a nice to have instead of a need to have. I think that they are important. It's an important step that we should certainly consider. But if we have to go in 2027 instead of 2026 to get the plan right, then that's what we have to do. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, thank you, Director Ricker.
Sure.
Jean?
Can you go back to the previous slide with timing? Clara, please. Right, thanks. So up to this point, this board as a board hasn't had any input, just the couple people on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if there's a place to insert an opportunity for this board to see this before the final draft of the plan is presented to the ARB, maybe between the plan writing and the public meeting, because I think once the public meeting happens, people sort of, get a feeling this is what's going to happen. So, either between bullets 2 and 3, or between, bullets 3 and 4, something like that, so this board isn't left at, next to last bullet and say, oh, wait a second.
Right. Right, I think that's a possibility. I'd like to limit, review and comment to I don't want to limit it, excuse me. I would like to make the process as efficient as possible. So absolutely, I think this is a board that can review and comment, on a draft plan, the same as the AMP Up Advisory Committee, or even, I believe there are other board chairs that have indicated they'd like an opportunity to review and comment as well. But, I think where I really am is, for all of our review and comment, we need to, that can't go on, infinitely. I think it's something that we really are going to have to put to make time limited to time limit it and let people know, yes, please, provide the input, but we're after a certain date, I think, we can't accept any more comments or edits.
Jean, anything else?
No, that was it, thanks.
Okay, great. Shana? I just want to echo, I think, what Jean said. I think that we've certainly learned that early involvement from the redevelopment board in multiple steps in the draft process can lead to a better outcome and less rework down the line.
Yeah.
Ken?
How many submissions or how many issues that came up to town meeting before it passed, the last one?
I would have to go back and review how the town meeting went in 2015. If this was something, I have heard from the previous planning director that they're at one point they decided not to, present the plan to the select board or town meeting. But now I'm hearing that may not be the case. That it did go to town meeting. But I think it's worth looking back to 2015 to see what that process was and sort of how it went down to to help us shape our strategy moving forward and whether we're going to present to town meeting and when.
I mean, I applaud the work you've done so far to date. That's a lot of work, and there's still a lot to go. But I just thinking that this is not going to. I think this issue is not going to go past the first time in town meeting, and I'm not sure this year is a good year, or this coming year is a good time to bring it up. Tell me all that's going on. I just want to say that we should maybe plan on the following year too.
Okay.
If we do this, just because, because I know you have so much funding set so far, And then if you use it all now, you're not gonna have anything to carry on to the next year. I just wanna see if we just keep something in reserve just in case it doesn't go past this first year, which I'm not sure it's gonna.
Right.
That we have enough so we can make changes and make, at least update it.
Right.
Because I don't want to be left with, well, we got here, and now we need to go the last step.
Right.
That's,
Right.
But this is great.
That's a good comment. Thank you, Ken. Steve?
Yeah, there's, I remember the comprehensive plan coming up in 2015 because that was my first year at town meeting.
Yeah.
I have a recollection of it being adopted or the resolution being supported, although I'm skimming through trying to find the actual vote, and you'd have to come back, give me a few more minutes, and I would suggest that you don't wait around. You could, I'll do that on my own time and report back.
Great, thank you, Steve. Anything else? All right, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Let's see. The next item on our agenda is open forum. So if anyone who's here this evening would like to address the board, now is your opportunity. Okay. Great. Please. Yep. And so this will be the same as public comment for a hearing. You'll have up to 2 minutes. Please identify yourself with your first, last name, and address. Thank you.
It's still Jason Haas, and I'm still a resident of 105 Everett Street. I really, watching this hearing, watching the other hearing, I really respect and admire the work that you all do. I know it's impossible, and it seems like an insane civic process that you are at the last step for some of this stuff. But I would, the thing that I forgot to talk about was that, the development of the commercial, the mixed use on Broadway, like, I'm going to come up with a business where I put some exercise balls in these spaces, and then the commercial people will pay me to put something in that space. They're not big enough. And so we're going to have a corridor of ghost shop fronts. And I'm really concerned about that. And so, the application of the 60% rule, please reconsider that, because I think it's really important to terraforming how that corridor of Broadway looks and how it will be handled for, again, a decade? I don't know, a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? All right. I appreciate the comment. And with that, we'll close open forum. So the last item on our agenda before we adjourn is new business. So I'll turn it over to Director Ricker for any new business.
No new business at this time.
Great. Steve?
The 2015 comprehensive plan was Article 46, and it was adopted by a vote of 143 to 41. No, 136 to 41, sorry.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
And that was a mom and apple pie plan.
Yeah. Jean?
No new business.
Sheena?
No new business.
Ken?
I'm good.
Okay, I don't have any either. We'll move to the last item, which is to see whether there's a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Second.
Take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes.
Shayna.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.